No one's there for public
Nope.
comments.
Nope. And Lori's here.
Finance, is Doug here?
Doug is not here.
Okay, well. We have treasurer's report.
Are we not still early? When was the meeting to start?
I thought I set it up for 6:30. That's
Yeah.
our usual time.
Yeah.
And
So when are
I
we
don't
starting?
know-
6:22.
Right, but the agenda that I'm looking at says 6 o'clock, and I don't know why, but maybe
Okay.
I mistakenly directed it.
All right. Proceed.
Okay.
Ray, I'm trying to get a hold of Doug. Doug thinks 6:30 as well.
Yeah, right. Doug doesn't have to be here, and I think he's still doing taxes, so, he could,
Come.
you could probably tell him to stay off. Unless he needs to come in, he has the time to spend and go over the treasurer's report. Treasurer's report for the end of October 2024 shows beginning balance of $468,000 roughly, rounded up. And no major income receipts except no major receipts except it shows interest on invested income of $874, and then disbursements of $155,122. Yes, and ending account balance is $313,547. And this is, of course, before the major influx of tax revenue. So at that point, I guess we had enough operating pay in order to pay. Let's check that. Warrants that we have are $163,000. $163,000. So we had sufficient operating cash as of the end of October to pay this warrant. And at this point, he just finished collecting all the on-time payments for property taxes yesterday, and that will bring in a large influx of cash to carry us through.
I'm letting Doug in right now.
Okay. Next few months. Is he in here?
Yes. Yep, Doug is here.
Doug, I'm doing your report for you, I guess. But is there anything unusual about this treasurer's report that you want to say?
Yeah, looks like he's trying to.
Yes, okay. Hi, Doug.
Hi, how are you?
Okay. So I just sort of went over the treasurer's report for October 31st.
Okay.
And I pointed out that the ending account balances were sufficient to pay the warrant that we have for November.
Yes, that is correct. And also, what I'm going to do, much like I did last year, I'm going to have the village advance $200,000 against the tax amount that is owed to the school district. So that way, we're not running on fumes. And then once I have the final state rec, which typically is the end of November. I think last year I cut the checks like December 2nd. Then that will just be less the 200,000.
Okay,
So that will happen this week. And I do have the rent check from the village school, which is 23,000, something in that range. I don't have it right in front of me. So that deposit will also be going.
Should be 26, actually.
It could be.
Yeah.
Tracy gave it to me end of last week, but I haven't had a chance to do anything with it with all the taxes going on.
Okay. Yep.
So, yep, that sounds right.
Yep.
Yeah, and other than that, I don't really have too much tonight. Like you said, it's a very light warrant.
Right.
Wasn't anything of significance on the treasurer's report this month. As most everybody knows, I'm in the middle of tax wrap up here, so that'll be
Right.
subsiding here over the next couple of days, and then I'll be able to get back on track with everything that gets pushed to the side for this time frame.
Right. Well, we appreciate you showing up, and now that you've discussed what you have to discuss, you're free to go back to working on the taxes or whatever you need.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
Yep,
much,
so
Doug, for your service to us.
no problem. No problem. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks,
Okay.
Doug.
Yep. Thanks, Matt. Have a good night, everybody.
You
Yeah.
too.
You too. Okay, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, that would be minutes and the warrant. Minutes for October 9th. Well, actually, I made a change in this, which has been effective here. I said, why don't we incorporate policies into the consent agenda? So you will see on the warrant, there's minutes of October 9th, 2024. The warrant for $163,795. Most of that's to the village school, and then there's some. Where's the detail? Then there is the stipend payments to the board. You should have all received your stipends. And 6 checks. Also, taxes, 941 the payroll taxes to the feds into Vermont Department of Taxes, and payment to Doug for treasurer's work. That adds up to $7,296. In addition to the 156. Yeah, 156. It's not right. Okay, well, I'll have to check that out. Because there was a correction.
163, 795.
Yeah. 795, and the payroll part of it was 7,296.
Yep.
And the accounts payable is basically just the payment to the village school. Because I see no other detail here. And that's $156,499. I need to check that because since we have had the census in hand, there was an adjustment for numbers at the village school. And I believe, I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe it's.
Ray, that's showing 85 students.
Yeah, but it's actually 83 is what's on the census. So we corrected that and I sent the corrected number. I know that the bookkeeper for the village school sent a corrected invoice, but it's being paid as if it's still 85 instead of 83.
Is it something we could just correct with next month's tuition payment?
Yes. But I'll have to see to it. I'm not, I think we can go ahead and authorize this with the, with a note that it has to be adjusted next
I'll
month.
make a motion to accept the warrant with the understanding that there'll be an adjustment for 2 students in the census downward.
Right.
I'll second.
All right. Any other questions? Any comments on the minutes or those? I believe I read them and they seem to be fine, so. Okay. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. So I had asked Brittany Cassan for just an ADM listing of our census for K-6, not including pre-K. And I didn't see anything come back to me. Let me see here. I was trying to, so I don't have a report on that at the moment, which would be like a total ADM number for K-6 students. Because we're going to see from the state, once they've incorporated the census material, we'll see the new long-term weighted average number coming at us in probably December. Is that right?
I think so, yes.
I think so.
Yes.
In December. And all I was trying to do was get a sense of the ADM compared to last year's ADM. And I had asked her for that, and I guess she didn't get around to it, but I didn't see any traffic on my email about it. So I sort of constructed one for last year that shows what I had there, and I was going to compare it to this year, but I don't. All I have is I have not gone through the listing of students that I approved for others going to other schools, so I don't.
She's working on it.
She is.
Yes, she
Okay,
is working.
thank
on
you
it.
very much.
Yes.
I appreciate
And
it.
it's funny, our paths crossed today, and actually that's what she was working. So
Okay,
I
great.
just want to let you know she is working on it.
All right. No, she's very usually right on things.
Yes, she is working on
She's got other things to do.
it.
I know that.
Mhm.
All right, so I'll get that out to you once I have those figures. And that will give us some idea what we're facing, although it won't give us the long-term weighted average number that we will need to be calculating tax consequences and per pupil spending consequences of this year's enrollment. So I really don't have anything else to say, except I'll just make a brief remarks about what's ahead of us here. And that's budget season. So the first budget to drop is the SVSU budget, because every school district budget depends upon the assessment costs that are going to be apportioned to that district. And those depend on the SVSU budget being approved. And so the budgeted expenditures for FY 26 that would be, are known, at least they're in a budget format. And the assessments are known to each district, which are the key things for forming the individual district budgets. You know, those numbers. And then in addition to that, in our particular case, once we know those figures and we know the long-term weighted average, and then we start budgeting for numbers of students at different institutions that are serving our students from K-6 and also pre-K. Then we can get to calculating what our budget will be. And there's also the, we'll have to figure out we have this project coming up in next summer. And which we've committed funds to help fund that project, although most of the funding is coming from the grant that Efficiency Vermont has secured for the village school in order to do these improvements to the ventilation system. So we have to, I don't know, I'm going to have to talk to Renee about that. So we're going to have to figure out how we just get that in this year's budget when it's actually going to be expended next year. After June, most likely, or in early June, late June, I mean. So bringing that up, and Tim Newbold being here, and like to ask him, you know, how it's, what's the state of getting contracts and things like that together with the winning bidder on that project.
Yeah, no, it's good to see you, Ray, and Laura. It's good to see you virtually. So everything's proceeding as planned. We've signed all the agreements with Efficiency Vermont officially, and we are going through the contract piece for Naylor and Breen, who are the contractors who put in the best bid. So we have until the end of December to complete that work. I hope to have that done in the next couple of weeks. So I think we're ticking along just as we planned. The one thing that we may have to do, which really doesn't impact you, is I think we may have to find an additional auditing firm. Our auditors do not want to take on the piece around meeting the federal guidelines for this. So we'll have to search for a firm, but Efficiency Vermont has the line on a couple of firms that are willing to do this kind of work. So we may have to do that piece going forward, but I don't think that will hinder anything in any way.
Right.
So everything seems to be proceeding just fine.
Maybe you could just explain briefly what those additional requirements are.
So if you get any grants from the federal government over $750,000, then they require what they call a single audit, which has very stringent requirements around your auditing practices and things like that. And so it's a bigger lift for any accounting or auditing firm. So we'll have to do that through a different firm than we've been working with. There's no longer any local firms that really do this kind of work. We're working with a firm now in Rutland who's been doing our audit for the last couple of years, but they don't want to take this on. So we'll have to see who in the area will take on the single audit. And I'm not as familiar with it as some, but I'm sure Laura and Renee have probably done many single audits with some of the federal monies that they've gotten in.
Yeah.
But it's just a more complicated process, is my understanding, with, dotting I's and crossing T's in that respect. The federal government just wants to make sure they're accounting for every penny that's going in and out of their revenue stream. So we just have to make sure we do our best to do that. We've been keeping good records on everything so far, so we should be fine. But it's just a matter of getting a firm who's willing to do the work for us.
Okay. Does that
I do-
also entail auditing the employee records of the contractor?
I'm not
Like
sure.
Davis Bacon
I don't know
stuff,
how. I don't know how deep they go into it. I think it's just
Yeah.
auditing the
Just the
exchange
money
of
flow.
expenditures and things like that. I don't think they're going to go into
Okay.
the labor practices of the people. But that's above my knowledge at this point.
Yeah, I know that they have Davis Bacon requirement on this because there are federal money, so that's probably part of the issue too, so.
Sure. Can I ask a quick question regarding the budget for next year? And Laura, maybe you don't have any idea, but do you have you guys started to discuss what kind of a percent increase the district may do because there's so much pressure now to, to really not only, slow down education expenses, but potentially reduce education expenses across the state. So has the district started to even weigh in on that as a possibility as to what they might try and do?
So the first step in, is just meeting right now. Renee's Gordon, our Director of Finance, is meeting with each, SU department, and planning. So we're just at the beginning stages. She's in it. She is totally, that's her focus right
Yeah.
now. But it's exactly as you said, and you referenced earlier, it's collecting right now. She's in the process of collecting all the pieces, and she's listening to the information coming from the state. So she's definitely in it and working, but it's right now she's still in the process of bringing all the pieces together, and it will start to happen. It'll start to clip along as we move forward.
Right. So basically in December,
Yes, it's a very busy month.
after Renee has put in and her staff put in an incredible amount
Yes.
of work doing this,
Correct.
she will present a budget
Yes.
to the SDSU board.
Yes.
And that will probably take 2 different sessions.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes. Yep.
And
Correct.
then we approve it the end of the month, or? I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, she'll give us usually we'll meet, there'll be more than one meeting, and the goal again is as the SBSU budget has to be completed first, as you outlined, so that the other districts have that assessment piece and it can support their piece. But yeah, December is going to be a busy month for definitely the SBSU.
And of course, the fact is that the health insurance rates are going up
I don't have it
significantly.
in front of me, but yes, I know that's something that.
Well, I heard
Yes.
Cross Blue Shield is 20%.
So I don't, yeah, so I would,
I think it's potentially over 20%
Yeah.
for V high, which is
Right.
what most schools have across the state.
Right. And that, of course, since the predominant expense in the budget is personnel,
Mhm.
and most of those personnel have health insurance.
Mhm.
That's a considerable amount to deal with.
Mhm.
And so the SVSU board will be looking at this, and there are some very stiff constraints on the board in terms of what it can cut.
Mhm.
Because if we're told these positions are necessary, we're
Yes.
not cutting them out.
Mhm.
And the costs are gonna go up. We're gonna have to find other places to cut in order to, but I've been doing this long enough that I am fascinated at seeing these huge increases in health insurance, for one thing. Often is increasing at an astronomical rate. And Renee finds a way to ultimately cut our budget down to a modest increase.
Yes.
I don't know if that'll happen this year, but.
Yes, I'm writing down all your questions for Renee.
Right. Yeah, so, I did send some materials to board members. I didn't intend to discuss them. I just sent them out as FYIs. I would encourage you to look at Renee's, the presentation she put in together that's in a Zoom format. So you can do that in your own time. I did say, if someone wants to view it together with me, that'd be great. We can do that, but it is on Zoom and you can watch it when you can. That will help you understand process, or at least review the process so you remember what it's like. And then additionally, that there was some stuff from the School Board Association, which you can choose to look at or not. And I don't have anything further to say at this point. We're kind of waiting for all the data to land on us. Right. Anybody have any comments or questions? Sorry,
Negative.
it's late. We could be done by now.
You looking for a motion to adjourn, Ray? Because I'll do it for you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you
I'll
for being
second
here. Appreciate it. And
Let's get that agenda fixed so that it says
6:30 next month, right?
Yeah, I will do that.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.